aka Agent Chase. I've dubbed you Agent Chase.
Good evening, Brian. Good evening, Opinionated Idiots here. Hope everybody's having a great night, and it's about to get better, I believe.
I hope so. Yeah, I think we've been kind of sleuthing this out here. This whole this whole update with Bethany Funk.
I just want to say one thing before we get into Bethany.
Sure.
The body that was found in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, it was a walking distance of 15 minutes from the missing
I'm
person of
sorry.
Dana Smithers. It's actually 0.3 miles
Sure.
between where the body was found and her home where she was her phone was last seen, and her next door neighbor. So it's a quarter mile. And it's just off of Interstate 80, which would have been the main way to go from, say, Albrightsville, Pennsylvania to Stroudsburg, but that is just, a coincidence.
Just a
But
coincidence.
the body was very close, and this is my local news. It's breaking. It just came out this afternoon.
Yeah,
But we
you
pray for
kind
her
of
family. We pray
yeah.
for her family, that no matter what happens, they get answers in peace.
Absolutely. It's something that, I think going back to when Brian Kohberger was arrested, obviously knowing, where he was from that area in Pennsylvania, just being Pennsylvania itself, the questions were, has he done this before? Is PA investigating, some cold cases to see if there's any types of connections? And I know that Dana Smithers' name has been brought up a lot around kind of in this circle of Idaho. And, I don't want people to not, I don't want people to just ignore this. If it's not any type of, relation in this, I think it's still, informative to get her information out there because maybe someone knows something or heard something. Even if Kohberger's not tied to, this or any of this is tied to this, I still think that to raise awareness in this case and get it out there, I don't want to pass, just lightly pass on this. So we'll continue some updates here in
Absolutely.
her case as well because she deserves justice as well, and it's a strange incident. I think what was the last thing that was seen of her was on a ring cam, and she literally vanished into existence. So it's sad, and her family needs answers too.
And I pray for her children and her family. It's horrible, and hopefully she is found safe, and if not, I hope they get their answers.
Absolutely. Let me pull this up. Heads up to Laura for giving me a heads up on this today. She's been on this case because she lives in and around that area. But if you haven't seen the remains found in Strasburg, identify missing woman as Dana Smithers. Now we've been watching this, and Laura says, Brian, when you throw out ideas, we think and keep brainstorming. Yeah, absolutely. Just another thought. But I wanted to bring some attention to this. So Dana Smithers has been found. Her remains have been found. I'll read this article really quick. Human remains found in Strasburg Thursday have been identified as a missing person, Dana Christine Smithers. Monroe County Coroner Tom Yanka conducted an autopsy Monday. A portion of the remains were examined by forensics. Oh God, I'm not going to get that. Ontologist. I might have got it. Who helped confirm the identity of the remains using dental records. Results of the autopsy are pending further testing. According to the Strasburg Area Regional Police Department, the case and manner of death are currently undetermined. The case remains an active, ongoing investigation. On Thursday, April 27, Strasburg Borough employee discovered human remains in a wooden area near the Interstate 80 East on the off-ramp Park Avenue. And we know that she was reported missing in 22. She went missing. Smithers was reported missing in June, on June 4th, 22, after she was last seen on May 28th, 22 at approximately 11:05 p.m. via surveillance camera, leaving a friend's house in Strasburg, not far from her home. So I'm not going to read too much of it. I know that you're all aware of this case, but why am I reading about this? Well, there has been some implications and some things out there on the internet that have talked about possibility of maybe this was a Brian Kohberger uh, victim. Again, that's just people speculating. I'm only speculating here. I'm not saying that it's solid that he is that he was the person that did this. I am not saying that at all, but I'm just talking about theories. And I think a lot of it is timeline issues where she went missing on the 4th. Brian Kohberger moved out at the end of June to Pullman. He's literally right in around that area where his parents are. I think Laura mapped it out. It's literally within a mile, I think, where his parents are. Am I right, Laura? Am I right on that? Because you did all the legwork on that. Yeah, so Laura says, wait for this chat to come up. Says her body was found a quarter mile from her home and right next to Interstate 80, which would have been most likely routes BK would have taken from his home to Strasbourg. I hope I'm saying that right. Strasbourg. Yeah, it's 30 minutes from Strasbourg. So it's interesting. It's an interesting case. Again, I'm not saying that he has anything to do with this. I'm not implicating him in that. The authorities will make those decisions and find out who did this. But I wanted to just bring this up at the end of the stream so everybody knows, because I know we've been following this here on this channel, that the Smithers family can now have some peace. They found the remains, unfortunately, of Dana, and they can have some closure in this and find out who did this to her. Because that needs to be found out. And I will keep reporting on this and give you updates if there's any updates. And I just thought it's important to bring this up and let everybody know what's going on. Okay, we are live. I want to welcome everybody in to the Opinionated Idiot YouTube channel live show. We're back here on the mothership. And basically what you were watching there was a montage of a video that we started talking about Dana Smithers on this channel back in April 27th. And then we did a follow-up stream on 5/1. I did some conversation about it. We had a long stream about Dana back in, let me just look at the date here really quick. Was on May 3rd, 2023. And that takes us to today. There has been some new news reported in the Dana Smithers case. I'm going to bring in Laura. She's going to join me this evening on the stream, and we're going to get into this. Good evening, Laura. How are you?
Good evening, Brian. I'm a little under the weather, so I'm just going to be voice only tonight, but I needed to be here for this to help, um, seek justice.
Absolutely. What we want to do first is just make a statement here on our channel, like we always do. We are not lawyers. We are not experts. We are not law enforcement. We have no connections to law enforcement. What we do here is we just seek out justice in cases. We try to give good, factual, relevant information here on this channel. We have a great group of mods and a great group of chatters here that come into our chat, and we stick to the facts. We stick to the facts in the case. We don't do conspiracy theories. We don't put misinformation out there. We try to source all of our information through legal documents and websites, verified news websites. What I also want to do this evening too, before we get into this stream and in kind of like I always say, the bones, the meat of the show, is that we have someone watching this evening, and it's actually Dana Smithers' sister is watching the stream this evening, Stacy Ann. And I first want to send my condolences to you from the opinionated crew here. I know Laura does as well. And we want to welcome you watching us this evening. My platform is always open to you, Stacy, if you would love to come on sometime or call in and just tell us Dana's story. Because even if there's no relation to Brian Kohberger, what's been reported in the media today, we want to continue to seek justice in this case and give the correct platform out there if any family members choose to speak on Dana's behalf. So my hand is out to you. I know that you were talking to one of my supporters earlier. I'm not gonna put her name out there, but you were talking to one of my supporters of this channel earlier. You're building that relationship, and you have my phone number. So if you ever want to reach out and talk about Dana, we would love to hear about her. And if there's any information you want to get out there, any information that you want to set the record straight or anything like that, or get anything out, we would appreciate that. So uh, let's treat this stream with respect, everybody in the chat this evening. We do have a family member watching, and we're going to move on here with the show. So thank you so much for just kind of giving me that second to speak on this. And I'm going to pull up what kind of all started this today. What I saw was uh, Brian Enton actually did some reporting today on Twitter, and it was buzzing. It was just going crazy. My Twitter was blowing up. People were messaging me, chatting, hey, did you hear what went down today? So Brian Enton tweeted about 5 hours ago. It said News Nation has learned Brian Kohberger's parents were called to testify before a grand jury in Pennsylvania. The case is related to Dana Smithers, a 45-year-old woman who went missing in May of 2022 in Monroe County, the same county where Kohberger lived. He went on to continue his tweet. A source close to the case says Kohberger has a solid alibi and is likely not connected to Smithers' disappearance, but the grand jury has not concluded their proceedings, and in the investigation is ongoing. He continues here with a third tweet and says News Nation has previously reported that investigators were also looking into other cases in Pennsylvania to determine whether Kohberger was involved. And again, I want to make sure that this is very clear. We are not saying that Brian Kohberger is involved. Again, we're not privy to what the grand jury was talking about with his parents. He may have nothing to do with this, but if he doesn't, we still want to continue to support Dana and get her story out there. That's kind of where we're at. Laura, where were you at when you heard this, and what do you think?
I was at home.
Yeah.
I was at home, and I have notifications on for Brian Enton's tweets,
Mhm.
and I know that I had seen the news article come up. Um, I believe it was on Facebook, and that's when I messaged you and I said, "Hey, this is kind of crazy." And a lot of people were speculating on why Brian Kohberger's parents would be pulled into an investigative grand jury. And obviously, it has to be a case that is from Monroe County. It has to
Mhm.
be something that happened in Monroe County. Um, I would think that if it had something to do with Idaho or the evidence, it would be connected to the Idaho court system case, just like how they used Pennsylvania State Police to apprehend him and do some searches. So I was a little hesitant, and I thought, Monroe County seems um it was I was like, okay. And then the next thing you know, that's when the Brian Enton tweets came up, and I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was shocked. Um, like you said, regardless of what happens, we need justice in Dana's case.
Mhm.
Um, we don't know. They have not, as of what I've looked at, I have not seen that they have released a cause of death.
Sure.
Um, so the fact that there is a grand jury investigation related to her death, unfortunately, tells me that it could have been foul play.
Sure.
Um, I mean, we might hear something from the news media or the court system in the next few days. I'm not really certain, but it was bittersweet when this came through because as much as we want everything to be great, as much as we want everything to just not be foul play, unfortunately there are some evil people out there. So I just felt for the family.
Yeah, and the thing that we have to always keep in mind, and I've said this, is that you know y- you can get some really, I would say, evil people that come into these chat rooms, or just people in general. You have to understand our lives go on, and these families and victims, they have to continuously deal with this. But as I've said, in all of this, the reason I do this is to find justice or give some relative information, because there's a lot of crap that gets spewed on YouTube about these cases. I'm starting to learn the true crime genre. And believe me, there are some really great people that do this, and there's some really shitty people. Excuse my language, but there's some really shitty people that do some, just like I said, I just don't know how people can sleep at night with some of the things that they say and talk about these victims. And it's about clicks and views. It's all they care about. And unfortunately, a lot of that crap sells. But I'm not a sellout. I don't do that. We keep things to the facts here, and we respect the victims at all time, and the families, because that's the most important thing. Let me pull up this article from News Nation. It's a very quick article. I got one here from News Nation, and then I got one from the Daily Mail that just got brought out a couple of minutes ago. So let's pull this up. So I don't know if you can see my screen there. Perfect. So this here says Kohberger's parents called to testify in front of grand jury. Brian Enton, it's basically just going to be his tweet. Brian Enton reports May 24, 2023. Brian Kohberger's parents have been called to testify before a grand jury in Pennsylvania, News Nation has learned. The case is related to Dana Smithers, a 45-year-old woman who went missing in May of 2022 in Monroe County. That's the same Pennsylvania county where Kohberger lives. Now, if you remember, quite a few streams ago, we actually pulled up a map and showed the relevance into the area of where Kohberger's parents were, and where, unfortunately, Dana's remains were found. Um, Laura, how far, again, was that in relation? And again, we are not stating that Kohberger is involved in any of this, but it's a strange at this point a coincidence. Laura, how far away was that when we pulled the map up?
Um, Brian Kohberger's family's home in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, more specifically Effort, Pennsylvania, is
Mm,
approximately 30 minutes away from Stroudsburg,
mm,
specifically where Dana's body was found, just off
mhm.
of the Interstate 80 exit ramp.
Yeah. So it goes on to say a source close to the case says Kohberger has a solid alibi and is likely to connect Smithers, is not connected to Smithers' disappearance. But the grand jury has not concluded their proceedings and the investigation is ongoing. See, that's where I get a little bit hung up on that. You know, um, there's
Yeah.
got to be something. I mean, listen, they don't just call you to a grand jury to testify about nothing. You don't just show up and they go, "Oh, hey, can you just show up and hang out? We just want to ask you a couple questions." There's some specific reason why they are. Now, I'm going to throw something out there. This could be a possibility. We know about during the raid, and we keep hearing about this in the media, and I'm wondering if some of this information is getting leaked, maybe from a family member or someone that's close to the family. And I saw this in the chat earlier. Laura, let me ask you a question. Could one of
Sure.
the two IDs that were found in Kohberger's house potentially, and we're not saying that is 100%, potentially, could it be Dana Smithers' ID?
Potentially, it could be, unless we were to be told otherwise. I mean,
Right,
in the Dateline episode, they said that it was not related to King Road,
right.
despite other leaks saying it was related to King Road. Regardless, they have two IDs that are not related to King Road, if we're going to go by that. And back in January, February, they said they had two cases. Pennsylvania State Police and area different counties were looking into 2 specific cold cases.
Hmm. Patrick's got a good message here, and forgive me, I might have misspoke on this, but Patrick, you're correct. He says a grand jury is to show evidence for an indictment, not just to investigate possibilities. Wow, I mean, there's got to be something heavy here. They're really leaning on. Whether it's going to come out in the next couple of days or weeks, we don't know. But he is right on that.
In Pennsylvania, there's 2 different types of grand juries. There's
Sure.
both investigative and indicting grand
Okay.
juries. So, um,
So maybe I
I
misspoke.
in Pennsylvania, investigative grand juries are usually they usually happen
Got it.
before the criminal charges are filed.
Sure.
But indicting grand juries can be happen, like, after criminal charges have been filed. So what we just saw with Brian Kohberger in Idaho, it was an indicting grand jury because he was already charged
Right.
criminally. However, in Pennsylvania, and they did say that this was an investigative grand jury, so they are
Yeah, you're
looking to
right.
see what evidence they have. Each state's different. I mean, so that's where it can get a little confusing, but this was an investigative grand jury to see what evidence. Yeah, it's all right, Patrick.
Yeah.
I doubt
Listen,
you're
I was
from
confused.
Pennsylvania. You're probably not from Pennsylvania, and
Sure.
Pennsylvania is my state, and it's an interesting legal system here. So yeah, I mean, that's originally what I thought too. I thought that, and then I was like, "Oh, well, they say it's an investigative one."
Right.
So they're trying to gather evidence to see if they can do any
Okay.
charges.
Sure. Let me go back to that article. We'll pull it back up and read through it. Let me just get the correct screen here. I'm so bad at doing this. All right, cool. This is where we're at. Let me just enlarge this a little bit so everybody can see a little better. So it went on to say sources close to the case say Kohlberger has a solid alibi and is likely not connected to Smithers' disappearance, but the grand jury has not concluded their proceedings and their investigation is ongoing. Oh yeah, sad tragic news. If anybody hasn't heard, singer Tina Turner actually passed away today too at the age of 83. Wow, what a legend though. I mean, just so many years of performing and such great music. Yeah,
Yeah.
sad to hear that. But
Unrelated,
yeah,
my mom was a huge fan of Tina Turner, and
mm,
as a small child, she would play, her music over and over and over again, and today would have been my mom's birthday, so,
yep.
um, yeah, like, it really hit me because I'm thinking, "Oh my goodness," as
Uh,
a small child, my mom was in her mid-20s, and she was
mm,
obsessed with Tina Turner, so, yeah, for her to die on my late mother's birthday
I'm
was
so sorry.
it's alright, I mean, but yeah, I mean, definitely downloading some songs today,
And I
listening to
heard she, like, she played all the way, like, right up until she
until she could
passed. She was
until she
yeah,
couldn't any longer.
yeah, but
What a
that's
great
sad.
soul, what a great
Yeah,
soul. She's a survivor, has so much grit, Tina Turner, oh,
yeah, she went through a lot, she went through a lot with the whole Ike Turner
yeah,
situation, and obviously, I'm sure everybody has seen the movie with, Angela Bassett that played Tina Turner, What's Love Got to Do with It? I know that when it goes across the airs and I come across it, I stop and watch it. It's a great movie and really tells that story of her, dealing with the abuse that she had to go through, but then that moment when she had that clarity to liberate herself and get out of that situation. So very big, big on her to do that, and then became ultra successful in her career. So, yeah, condolences to the Turner family.
yeah.
Tina Turner, a legend, absolute legend, but passed at 83 years old. So, let's just read the rest of this article, and I have another one uh, from Daily Mail. So, News Nation has previously reported the investigators are still looking into another case in Pennsylvania to determine whether Koberger was involved. So, not only investigating in the Smithers case, also there was another case they were looking into. And we heard about this back when he was initially arrested. About a week or two after that, there were some news articles that came out that they said that they were looking into other cases. He is already accused of killing the 4 Idaho students, Zana Knodel. Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonzalez last November inside an off campus rental house in Moscow. All 4 victims were stabbed to death. And then Enton was uh, tweeting about the King Road house. This is a recent picture of what it looks like there. And he said the demolition of the house where 4 University of Idaho students were murdered is still planned for the summer. And the University of Idaho says, despite concern for the family that a jury may need to see the house, I'm told the demolition is still planned. And that really was, the basic article that we got on this, because there's just not much information with the story breaking today. But I'm going to pull up this article quickly from from Daily Mail. Maybe we get a little bit more in here. So it says Idaho murder suspect, and I'll just enlarge this. Hang on, chat 1 second. Idaho murder suspect Brian Kohberger's parents called to testify before grand jury in Pennsylvania over a case uh, of woman 45 who vanished in the same county where he lived in 2022 and whose remains were found this month. Michael and Marianne Kohberger will testify in court over the disappearance of Pennsylvania woman uh, Dana Smithers. The court suspects Idaho murder suspect Brian Kohberger might be connected to Smithers because she disappeared 30 miles from his parents' home. Smithers, 45, was last seen on May 28, 2022 on Ring footage. Idaho murder suspect Brian Kohberger's parents were called to testify over the case of a missing Pennsylvania woman who disappeared in the same county where he lived. Michael and Marianne Kohberger were appeared in front of a grand jury in connection to Dana Smithers on May 28, 2022 disappearance. Smithers, 45, was last seen on a Ring camera footage at around 11 p.m. on the day she went missing. Her remains were uncovered in a wooded area in Stroudsburg on April 27th, about 30 miles away from Kohberger's family home in Allsbright. But a source claimed that Brian's alibi proves that he wasn't involved in Smithers' disappearance, according to News Nation. Brian, 28, were charged with November 13, 22 deaths. And there's a picture of Dana here. And that's really it. So it says Michael is expected. Oh, wow. We get a little bit more information here, Laura. So it says Michael is expected to testify in court on Thursday, while Marianne was already given her testimony. The transcripts from the closed session may be transferred to Idaho, where their son is expected to go on trial on October 2nd. This is bigger. Laura, something's going on here.
Yeah, the fact that it's an investigative grand jury, they have the Kohberger
There's
parent,
more going on here,
and they
guys.
may send it to Idaho.
That
Uh,
that tells me there's more going on here. I mean,
y
I don't want to speak out of turn, but I
me
don't know. I mean,
neither.
this is my opinion. I think something's going on. That
Uh,
leads me to believe they have some really strong evidence.
I still think that we only know the tip of the iceberg, and they have the Titanic of evidence below the surface.
And someone in the chat just made a really great point. Reba said, and they separated them to testify.
Oh,
They separated the parents to testify.
that's a good observation,
That's
Reba.
a huge observation, Reba. Something's going on here, Laura. This is, I mean, I think you might be right. The Titanic may be coming here pretty soon, and we've said this. We've been talking about this, and I told everybody from the beginning, when all those legal documents dumped in the Idaho case, I told everybody, go through and read those documents. You will find out what's going on. You can piece this together, you can timeline it together. And that's why we've been, you know, sticking to that and not going off the deep end with all these crazy conspiracy theories.
And
But go ahead,
you
Laura. I'm
know,
sorry.
it's all right. We've seen so much in the media about the full lives that the 4 victims, Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan, had. Their robust lives. They were so busy and active and so many things going on and everything. We've seen that. And, I've seen that in Dana's the group with Finding Dana and
Yeah.
all the memories her friends and
Yeah.
family have shared. It looks like she was like a Santa helper at a mall.
Yeah,
That's a job that's underpaid. Um, I mean, the
sure.
kids are like, it just seems like she was such a larger than life personality, and it's just so sad if this is not connected,
Mhm.
if it is connected, regardless of whether or not it's connected, but, like, these larger than life people that wanted to do so much good and have done so much good in the world that are taken from us.
Yeah, Patrick, I'm going to bring his. He's been a great chatter this evening. He said, and I just want to start bringing some new names up too, because it's nice to see new people over here and really, hanging out here on the channel and giving their opinion. So Patrick says, I think something is going on as well. Absolutely, Brian's going to sink like the Titanic. Mama Styles says maybe not Kohberger's first rodeo, and then Dr. Bob, one of my channel members and my moderator, says the parents might be his alibi, and that may be very true. But the thing that is a little disturbing in the article, it says the transcripts from the closed session may be transferred to Idaho, where their son is expected to go on trial on October 2nd. That leads me to believe there is some very interesting information that they're looking at in this specific related to this specific case. Um,
Why would Idaho care about this?
Yes, right. And this is interesting too. Johnny Archer, a channel member and a moderator, says, I don't want to be very speculative, but the letter from Brian from Montana to his dad could even maybe be involved. I mentioned something about that before in a video, like who is
Yeah.
Montana?
Is it who or what, like, is it the state or is it a person?
Right. That's what we don't know. And that's why I've said, who is this Montana? Who is
I know.
Montana? What is
Yeah.
Montana? And then Brunswick County Homes Real Estate's asking if someone is called to testify before a grand jury, aren't they the prosecution's witness?
I believe so, because there would be no right now there's been no charges filed, so there would be no defense yet because it's an investigative grand jury.
Hmm.
So it would have to be the prosecution calling upon people to make a statement. So that was a really great observation, Brunswick.
Yeah. And then Brenda has become a new channel member. Brenda, thank you so much for your support behind here in the channel and becoming a channel member. We really do appreciate that. Let's give her this. And if you don't know and this is first time watching, that's our little new member tone. So thank you for coming to the channel. Jingle said she's loving or he's loving the show. Um, let's see. Yeah, and Patrick saying, it's only to show a pattern of behavior. And then Toy is saying maybe the rumor that the mom cooperated with Idaho is true. And then Bobby saying Idaho might care in regards to establishing a pattern. It's true. These are all wow, amazing chats tonight, right?
Absolutely.
And then Bobby says definitely not wrong on that. Tsunami channel member and a moderator says grand jury can also be just a three-party witness. I don't know what it is in Pennsylvania. I don't know if that. And then Angie thinks that Pennsylvania found something. I do too. I mean, like I said, again, we're only being, speculative here. We're only basing our opinions. It's kind of water cooler talk, but we're stating off an article here. Again, I go back to that sentence. The transcripts from the closed session may be transferred to Idaho, where their son is expected to go on trial on October 3rd. That leads to me that there's something going on. They're looking at something here. So let's keep reading down the rest of the article. Maybe we get a little bit more information. So the suspect appeared in Idaho courtroom on Monday, where he refused to enter a plea of 4 counts of murder in the first degree. Brian has been expected to plead not guilty, but instead chose to use Idaho's standing silent plea, which means he was not pled either way, but can still be tried. He had been due to face a preliminary hearing, but in Washington State University, PhD candidate was indicted by the Idaho grand jury, who heard the evidence in the secret and decided. Let me ask you a question, Laura. Do you think that if they had evidence that Kohberger's involved in any other uh, uh, murders or incidences, that they would share that with Idaho, and maybe that would help form down that indictment? forward on, put that indictment, stamp that indictment on him? Do you think that something like that could have happened?
Whether or not it could have or did or will, I mean, that's a possibility. I
Sure.
mean, they want to establish patterns, as one of our viewers just said. They wanna see if, you know, they wanna figure out, his behavior. If one Yeah, I think I'm very curious to that too, Heather. I don't know, and I would love to know, but of course we will learn in due time.
Yeah, and then James is saying invested grand juries are usually called before criminal charges are filed. Absolutely. Um, no, no, we haven't yet. It's still under investigation. Um, Again, I just want to be really, if you're all just coming into the chat this evening, I want to be very sensitive to here. We do have Dana's sister Stacy watching this evening, so we want to be just really sensitive to this content. I know it's very traumatic. I'm sure she's going through a range of emotions. We want to treat this with respect, and we want to welcome Stacy in for watching the stream tonight. Again, Stacy, my platform is always open. If you need to get any information out there, or you want to talk or just share stories about Dana, we would love to hear that. I have passed my phone number to you. And again, my platform's open, my phone number's open anytime. So let's go on and read this here. So it says the criminology major has been behind bars since December 30th when police raided his parents' home in Pennsylvania. He was transferred to the Latah County Jail on January 4th, where he remained since. And this is a photo here of Michael Kohberger and his Brian's mom, excuse me, Mary Ann. Oh, wow. I've been burning the midnight oil lately a lot. A lot of streaming and where they had already given their their testimony. And this was the last video on a ring cam that we have heard about. Um, I don't know if I really want to speculate too much, but the thing that I always thought that was very strange, and I'm sure a lot of people have pointed this out, that it almost looks like she comes out and looks over to her right. I don't know if she's waiting for someone or seeing someone. We just don't know. But and then of course we have the Idaho students here. Um, this really just keeps going on about what we already know in the Idaho case. So I'm not gonna read through that too much. We're already pretty much caught up to speed in that. Uh, yeah, Miss Harmony, thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Thanks for treating this, with respect. We want to be very respectful to the families when they are watching our stream. Let's pull this up really quick again with an article. We had also a breaking story on News Nation as well. I'm going to play this about a 4-minute video if anybody hasn't seen it.
Have breaking news tonight on a pair of legal fronts. We're learning that the parents of accused killer of 4 Idaho students have been called to testify before a Pennsylvania grand jury. Their son, Brian Kohberger, is charged in the gruesome stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students last November. He was arrested at his parents' Pennsylvania home nearly 2 months later. Kohberger's parents are reportedly being questioned about another case of a missing woman in Pennsylvania. Joining us with more now on the legal issues at stake is News Nation's senior national correspondent Brian Enton and News Nation legal contributor Jesse Weber. Brian, why are the police looking to talk to the
I gotta
parents?
say, two of the most respected people that I respect in this business are these two people that are on the panel. Laura, what do you think?
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely. I
yeah,
mean, they have a great group here, and,
yeah,
I really wanna say that I don't think Brian Enton has led us astray before.
yeah,
Um, he he just seems like he's in journalism for the right reasons and not just for clout.
yeah. I'd say that about Jesse as well
Oh,
too. I mean,
absolutely,
just
Jesse 100% as well.
fantastic,
I like them both.
credible people, very credible. All right,
And
let's listen to. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Elizabeth Vargas, I
Yes.
mean, she's been 100% upfront about her life and everything, so I have the utmost respect for her.
Yeah. All right, let's play through this. And Brian's been down in Idaho since Kohberger's indictment. He's been reporting. You can see the King Roadhouse there in the background. Let's see what he's dug up today and found out.
Parents about a case in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, this is an interesting development. We have confirmed that Brian Kohberger's parents were called to testify in front of this investigative grand jury that has to do with this missing persons case. 45-year-old Dana Smithers, she went missing in June of 2022. Her body was just discovered about a month ago. We're told this is just an investigative grand jury, so it's not like they're trying to indict one specific person, but still, it's very, very interesting that they would subpoena and call in Brian Kohberger's parents to come in and testify.
Jesse, what do you make of this?
So they're trying to determine if a crime was committed. I think that it should be important to note that Ms. Smithers disappeared in the same county where the parents live. So one possibility could be, is it about Brian Kohberger committing a crime only a few months before he's accused of committing quadruple homicide? Or could it be that these are just residents of that community and they have just some ancillary information regarding the disappearance of Ms. Smithers? That could very well be a possibility. And the Kohberger front, I do think it's interesting considering one of the big factors we've always wondered is if Brian Kohberger really did this to those 4 college students in Idaho, was this his first time?
Right.
It's such a brutal crime. And sometimes these killers actually do something before and it's found out later.
Well, it's not just such a brutal crime. It was incredibly bold. I mean, there were 4 victims. There's not just one victim. He allegedly murdered them in a way that was very up close and personal and very risky. There were witnesses in the house at the time, right, Brian?
Yeah, absolutely. And important for me to point out, too, we also have a source close to the case in Pennsylvania who tells us that Brian Kohberger has a very solid alibi in that case. What the alibi is, we don't know. Is it possible that somehow his parents are part of that alibi and that's why they wanted to call them in to get them on the record? Remember, I mean, you know, they don't have to talk to the police, but one way that they can require them to come in and talk is with a grand jury subpoena. But I found it very interesting that we were able to confirm that there is an alibi here, apparently, with Brian Kohberger.
And very quickly, do we know if the parents, Kohberger's parents, have been cooperative with in law enforcement, you know, both in Idaho and in Pennsylvania up to now?
It appears they've been cooperative. I mean, we know that they are testifying. I mean, they're not, you know, fighting the subpoena from what we've been told. So they will go and testify to the grand jury. I mean, I'm not sure that they wanted to do that or that they would have just voluntarily done it with like a police detective, but they are going to cooperate with these grand jury subpoenas.
How unusual is this, Jesse?
Well, the idea that you have a suspect who's being implicated in another crime, we've seen that happen before. Again, we just don't know his connection to this case.
Right.
But the parents, in a case in a day where the parents of accused killers have really taken center stage, they're sometimes the people that have the most information. These killers sometimes, or these suspects, have relayed information to their parents, and they are the ones that you need to speak to.
All right, Jesse Weber, Brian Enton, I'm sure we'll be hearing more about this case in the days ahead. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. So Laura, what do you think? And I actually go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, actually, Brian Kohberger's parents, their family attorney, tried to quash the motion to subpoena them to this grand jury.
Really?
That was in one of the articles.
Oh.
The parents tried to quash it.
So I want to let everybody know I just don't want to reveal her name because their relationship is now private, but one of my fans and supporters has been communicating with Stacey Ann, Dana Smithers' sister, through the stream. And she actually just sent some photos that we can share of Dana, which is fantastic. So Stacey, thank you for doing that. And we really do appreciate you watching this stream tonight. You know, we just want to find justice in Dana's case, and I hope that you get some peace soon in her case, and we will promise that we will not forget her, and we will continue to report on that. If there's anything that you want to share about her, any information you want to get out there, just email me, theopinionatedidiot@gmail.com, or I've passed my phone number to you. You can reach out to me as well. She just wants to remain private right now. I understand there's a lot going on, of course, in her life and hers surrounding her sister. So let's let her get let her get through that process. And again, my platform is always open to you in any way. But let me pull up some photos here that we can share of Dana, because I know everybody was asking to see some photos of her. Let me just get these up. Hang on one second. I got way too much stuff coming at me here. We have another article that we're going to pull up after we pull these photos up of Dana. So Stacy, thank you so much for sharing these and allow us to show these on air. So there's one, and here's another one here. Okay, let me see. We'll do this. All right, bear with me, guys. I'm just want to pull these up. So this one here is great. So we have that one there. And we have, so everybody can see there's Dana. And we'll pull up this next one here. Oh, let me shut this photo down and get to the next one. Sorry. My computer's not cooperating tonight. I think her hair was a little darker in this picture. And then there's Dana right there. We've seen this one in news articles. And Stacy, thank you so much for sharing those with us and us being allowed to bring those up on screen. And like I said, if you need an outlet to talk or need, to get any information out there, we would be happy to do that here for you. So thank you. I appreciate it. All right, let's pull up. We just found another article here via CNN, and they are reporting about the Kohberger family quashing the subpoena. Let me enlarge this a little bit, and we'll take this from here. Oh gosh, this banner is terrible. How am I going to get through that? Okay, so it says first, I don't know if can you see the article up there? Let's see. Of course, they had to plaster their huge advertisement. Okay. First on CNN, parents of Idaho student murder suspect has been subpoenaed to testify before the Pennsylvania grand jury. And it goes on to say the parents of Brian Kohberger have been subpoenaed to testify before Monroe County, Pennsylvania investigators grand jury, according to the source familiar with the situation. Kohberger's father is expected to testify before an impaneled jury in a second sealed proceeding in Pennsylvania, according to the source. Her mother previously testified before the secretive panel, the source said. The parents of the man indicted for the killings of the 4 universities Idaho students were subpoenaed in the Pennsylvania jurisdiction where they lived and where Brian Kohberger was arrested last December. Their compelled testimony under oath may be shared with prosecutors in Idaho, according to the source. Pennsylvania law allows judges to release transcripts, of testimony before grand jurors to other investigative agencies after a court hearing. Laura, there's something going on here.
Yeah. And then it says right next to it, right below it, an attorney representing Kohberger's parents tried unsuccessfully to have the subpoenas quashed. Oof.
I hope this is justice for Dana.
So do
I hope. Okay, so okay, I just got a message from Stacy, and it says that let's see. It says our mother's birthday was yesterday, and we all got together and celebrated it, and it won't ever be the same. But I was driving home last night, and I was thinking about how Dana always went over the top for birthdays and holidays and basically any kind of celebration. She loved decorating and making a big deal about everything. And oh, that laugh. I miss it. Stacy, thanks for sharing that with us. We appreciate that. All right, let's finish this up, and then we're going to wrap the stream up in about 10 minutes. We're only wanting to do an hour. I've dragged Laura on too much this week. But Laura, I appreciate you so much for coming on. I know you're sick and you haven't been feeling good, but you're a champ to come through and do these streams with me.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
She's not feeling well. She's like, I'll come do it, but only an hour.
Yeah, my sinuses are just awful here. I mean, but it's, one
Yeah.
day it's winter here in Pennsylvania, the next day it's summer.
Same thing here in Massachusetts. So the attorney retained by Michael and Marianne Kohberger declined to comment to CNN about the grand jury proceedings. The Latah County Prosecutor's Office declined to comment to CNN, citing the gag order and effect of Kohberger case. Gee, did we think we were going to get anything? By law, a Monroe County grand jury can only review potential crimes that occurred within Monroe County, Pennsylvania. It is unclear what the potential crime they are investigating. Grand jury proceedings are secretive by nature, and the documents related to the proceedings are sealed. And I'm not going to go on because it's basically just going to give the history about what we know about Idaho. But this is big here. An attorney representing Kohberger's parents tried unsuccessfully to have the subpoenas quashed. Wow. There is something going on in this case. There is something going on.
Yeah.
Let me throw this out there, Laura. You think anybody from the Kohberger family may be saying something about this?
Well, it seems like his sister, the one that lived with them, might be a little talkative. She, I think what we learned from Dateline and some crazy Facebook posts I saw, who knows? Like, she could be talking, and I'd love
Heard
to
your cat.
be.
I just
I
heard your
Yes, my cat is right here. Um, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in that house
Yeah.
to hear. Wow, I mean, but I feel for the family regardless. The Kohberger family is torn apart.
Mhm.
And something I just remembered, the affidavit of probable cause that was released by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, back on remember how it said, and I have it in my notes,
Sure.
on Wednesday, December 28th, 2022,
Mhm.
while conducting surveillance, investigators observed Brian Kohberger traveling throughout Monroe County and
Mhm.
arriving back at his
Yep.
residence on Lambsden Drive. So he didn't have his phone turned off then. Um, where did he go in Monroe County? That's
Right.
what I'd like to know. I mean, why would they put that in the PCA for Idaho? What significance does this have? Um, I don't know.
We talked about that, and I'm gonna drop the stream here. There's a link that I'm gonna drop in. If you all want to go back and watch kind of our full detail, we pulled a map up and kind of went through all of these notes and all of these areas that Brian was traveling in. If you go to around the 50-minute mark of that stream, of the link that I just dropped, you can get our recap that we did a couple of weeks ago, and we pulled a map up and kind of mapped out where he was. And you are obviously, you live in Pennsylvania, so you're very familiar in and around that area. And we did about a 20 or 25-minute segment on that stream about that. So guys can go over. We're going to close this up in about 5 minutes. Go over and watch that stream. It's very very educating on this case, and obviously the Idaho 4. But around the 50-minute mark, if you just go to that link, you'll see our recap of excuse me. And I find that very interesting in the PCA that they would put that information.
I just don't know how it would have been relevant to the Idaho murders.
Right.
Um, why not talk about where he went on the 27th? Why not talk about anywhere? Interesting.
Wow, interesting. And again, we don't, I appreciate you putting this out. We don't, we got to hear something vetted, but yeah, that's crazy. That's so Michi Gal says there was a theory that the FBI audio surveillance picked up the sister's comments inside the home. Now we do know, according to Dateline, the episode that when Brian was home and his sister was home, compiling all that information and the evidence that was coming out, she actually, I think, went out to the car, said something to his dad, and his dad was like, "Oh, I don't believe it." And she went out to the car and was trying to look through his car to see if she could find anything. I do know that, and that was according to Dateline. So this is interesting. It just many twists and turns. I'm actually glad that I'm not working tomorrow. So if anything breaks tomorrow, any type of news, I'll be able to jump on live. And of course, I'll have a live stream tomorrow night. We're going to investigate a little bit more about the Papa Rogers implication that Brian Kohberger could been Papa Rogers, and obviously, if anything breaks in this story, we'll get to that information as well too. But again, let me drop that link one more time. This is a stream, I'd say about the 50-minute mark. You can go over and watch that. Really great information that we did on Dana Smithers. And also, what I want to do is I'm going to bring up the place marker for tomorrow's stream. You can go over there and click on this link here, hit the remind me button, hit the remind me button or notify me, turn that notification on. So when I go live tomorrow, you can come over and watch us live. So I think that's it, Laura. We just wanted to jump on and do a quick hour with everybody, get this information out there because it is extremely relevant into everything that we've been talking about on this channel. And again, I want to thank you. I know you haven't been feeling well, but I always appreciate you coming on the panel and really giving your detailed analysis. And you're an amazing researcher, and you did such a great job. And the chat loves you. So,
Oh, thank you. I want justice for all.
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, this week I knew would be a long week based upon as soon as we got the grand jury. Since last Wednesday, I think everything has been just one big spiral. I mean, I don't know if there are coincidences. I don't know. I go back to Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is usually the explanation. So I don't know. Every day we get more something. Oh, thank you for the comment, and it was in the reviews.
In the reviews, what's that? What's the reviews? Where were we?
Are we on Yelp?
We on Yelp?
I don't know.
Listen, I just want to do this very quickly. I want to thank Stacy if you did get to watch the entire stream tonight. Thank you so much for sending in some chatting with one of my subscribers. I know that you've built a little bit of a friendship there and some trust. Stacy, if everybody's just jumping in now, is Dana's sister. So she has been watching this evening. And again, my platform is open if you need a place to talk or you want to just share anything about Dana. And also, thank you for sending over those photos. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate sending those, letting the chat see Dana as well. So everybody, thank you so much for jumping in with us. We had about 200 people at peak. We appreciate that. We appreciate all of you. And I will be back tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I've dropped the link for that. And if anything breaks during the day, I am off during the day and I will get over and do some maybe lunchtime content. Also, just a little bit of a programming note. My schedule is going to get a little wacky here for the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to try to stream as much as I can. It won't be at my normal times. So just look out. And if I get on the community page, I'll drop it on there to remind you to come over and please support. And also, I just started doing lunchtime rewinds. What I'm doing is I'm downloading old episodes and re-uploading them so they play at 12 noon Eastern Standard Times on the days that I'm not streaming live. So look out for that. Thank you, moderators. Thank you, chat. Thank you for all the new subscribers that subscribed tonight. Please make sure to smash the like button. We're at 90. Can we just 155 people watching? Let's get to 100 likes for Dana. Let's do it for Dana. Let's get to 100 likes before I shut down the stream. Just go down and smash the like button. It just takes a quick second. If you haven't done that, I'll wait here a couple more minutes or so. Just go down and smash the like button. I would appreciate it. We'll get this up. We're at 91. We can do a little bit better than that. Let's get to 100, get the stream out into the algorithm because it's important to get this stream out. Look at this chat. Amazing people. Amazing people. 93. We're at 93. Let's just get it up. 96. We're close. If we get to 100, I'll gift a membership. How about that? That sound good, Laura?
That sounds great.
All
And
right.
I just wanted to add that this is also, I want to say, surreal, because I remember hearing about Dana's case on our local news station, WNEP, and just, I it it it's awful when somebody goes missing, especially a mom and a big family person,
Mhm.
and then to have the Idaho thing happen, and then all this, like, just this whole timeline. I just sit back and just try to wrap my head around it, to think how, like, life is crazy and life is awful, and uh, just here we are, almost a year later since she disappeared, and I really hope her family can get the peace they deserve. Stacy, thank you so much for connecting with
Yes.
all of our members and sharing things. Door's always open. I follow your Facebook group. I just hope and pray for you that you get all the answers and everyone is at peace in your family.
Yeah, we will continue reporting on this case. We will continue reporting on this case. Thank you all so much. And mind your business, now a gifted member for the chat for a month. That gift is on me. Thank you for getting us to 100 likes. We appreciate all of you. Laura and I got to get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys all be safe. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you.